Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5 Mondays. Every Monday, hopefully. Anyway, how is everybody doing? It was an interesting unpacking weekend here in a sense that plans got changed and I was able to go to the march on Saturday. I had no intention of filming live. None. No intention of filming live. Only because it's not useless with my camera and phone, but you can't really see when it's really sunny, and there was a point there where the sun was coming over the building. I was like blinding by the sun, but I thought I'll take it as best I can because Rocco Galati has a lot of good information to share, and I thought I think you can hear it. I think it was being heard okay, so that way at least you got it. He was a bit of the distance. There's a lot of people there. There was 4,000 people. I don't know. I've heard 4,000, but I believe because at some point in the march it was much closer to walk home and like Davenport and Avenue Road. So we actually just stood to the side and kept waving at everybody. They probably thought we weren't in the march, we were just there, but we were all excited. We were waving and peacing and doing all of that, and then there was a number of vehicles at the end too as well, something to do with the church, a church video. Anyway, so here you go, live at 5, and I hope you got to see some of the videos. Like they were fun to do, and there's a lot of people, and I realized I was spinning the camera faster than I would have liked to, and that's one thing I can say. You think you're going slow enough, but it still is not slow enough. But that was fun. So I'm glad there was a number of people because at one point I was able to see the messages and respond to them. But just give you a flavor of probably the biggest protest, the biggest march that they've had so far in Toronto, and that was that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So we have a bit to cover, but not too much, because at the end of the day, it seems like the people like Rocco Galati and other lawyers around the world to do with Germany, is if they're on top of it. They're connected and they are supporting each other free of charge and being able to feed off of each other and use the same information, therefore not repeating it. But what I found was interesting, they also spoke about doing so if there's any charges, I guess, from individuals, from people, then they could come together in the various different areas and countries and do one court case, therefore actually saving time and money and effort if it's all all the same thing at the end of the day. So that is very refreshing to see that they're right on top of it, super organized. And a lot of people were very excited, and it was really good to see the one gentleman, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he had learned a great, wonderful manifesting scenario where, I guess, as people can be, they kind of get upset about and frustrated with and maybe even angry at people who are not asking questions and not aware. And but when you change that, then what happens is you break down, you do your growth, and then you get validation from all around you, all around you in the different predicaments. And so that's what happened to this fella. He ended up going to the same place or doing the usual, and what happened is he got the evidence of him treating everybody with kindness, I guess. Coming together, that's what we need to do. It's a key message here, is really to treat everybody with respect and no judging and kindness and compassion, and continue to ask them questions, continue to ask yourself questions. I think that's very, very important. Nobody's on their high horse, nobody is riding high and those kind of things, because I think we have a bit of work to do, actually, in the sense of coming together as people. I just watched a short video on somebody from Africa, and it was interesting because she was saying, we've given you a lot, we give you a lot. She was a very smart lady, and we've given you diamonds, we've given you gold, we've given you cocoa. I don't know, Ivory Coast, there's a lot of cocoa that came from there, peanuts, so much Africa has given. And what have they gotten back? Nothing, she says. We've gotten back nothing. And so the person who's, I think must have been from Europe, is asking her, well, will you ever forgive us? Where you will ever forgive. And I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to, just like we did with our own indigenous people, and really, you have to come clean. You have to be honest, and you've just got to make amends and move forward in the best possible way without even the other side holding it and being resented. It is best for both sides to come to terms with it, because we're not even the same people that did the crazy things to the indigenous people. So at the end of the day, we can blame the country, can blame the people from the country, but it's not even the same people. And we're not the people who actually put and did the crazy things to the indigenous people. We're not, but we are here to still make it right. But at the same time, it takes two, right? It takes two to get over it, as horrific as it can be. And same with Africa or anywhere else in the world. You have these countries, and they probably have been abused. And I think she actually even mentioned HIV and green monkeys. Like, you put that on us, right? You put that on us when it's not true. That kind of thing. And I think tuberculosis they never had there. She mentioned that as well. And that was brought by the Western world. She probably didn't say everything, because I could bring up some stuff too, or hash up some stuff, but it was very short. It was a short video at the end of the day, but very informative. And it comes down to today, where we can have to come together. I think the key thing that I got out of her message too as well is in the readings that she would read or hear, and it's not that long ago, where they're calling them monkeys. They're not full humans, they're closer to animals, like that crazy stuff. And so she brought that up. So how many children think about that in a way that they do, be it their history books, or maybe it is old, maybe it isn't as much with people today. But at the end of the day, any opportunity that says otherwise should be righted, I think, in the rightest of ways for growth and all of that. I think that's very, very important. So as we come together as a world with all the different cultures and all the different religions and whatever, all the different things that exist, is we kind of give this an opportunity to have personal growth. Absolutely. That this is an opportunity to grow, to remove any prejudice and perhaps things that we may have thought of and be. Listen, everybody's human from around the world. They're all human. And what a life some of them have had. Truly a life. I would want to experience most of some of this nature. And of course there's a lot of part of the civilizations that no longer exist. We're annihilated and we're assimilated, if we want to call it that. Even Ireland was fortunate, because they were the far, far, far west of Europe, and the islands, they didn't have enough troops. Rome didn't have enough to conquer them, and then there was England that went in there, but they weren't located and didn't finally, I think it was 1970s when they officially, for the most part, moved over to the mainland, but they remained intact. They're living off the land and boats and fishing and farming and all of that. We still have the village there, the old village, so you could actually go and see it. I think it's Aran Islands, but there were other islands too, definitely, that people have been going over to, and they were able to keep the language, the Gaelic language. But if they were probably closer, or could have been taken over by Rome, then that would have been a whole different story. So how many of these cultures do we have still remain? I think I heard a story in Africa where there was a few tribes, and let's just say, I guess certain key governments that were trying to rule over more land or rule over more people or whatever it was, decided to make a big thing of this other group, and so they actually were able to sway the people of these other tribes to annihilate this other tribe. So in hindsight, they knew they were wrong, and what they did was wrong, but too late. Too late. So that's kind of that in that message. But I thought I would, one of the things that's very key, so now welcome anybody who's new, and welcome back anybody who continues to watch live at 5. The idea here is just to, I'm not all for what's the latest, what's the biggest thing, what should people be, no psychological stuff. The idea is we have a wealth of knowledge in our world, be it through books or through people, maybe passing down less, but they're still there, of nature and healing, and a lot of it. Nobody can make us learn it. So what I'm hearing is even children who had grandparents who were very, I guess they're healers in their own right, and had herbal gardens and knew where to collect things, we weren't interested because we had this crazy thought that convenience and making lots of money was the best. There's nothing wrong with technology, creative, and all of that. Absolutely not. But yeah, let's take advantage of it. And so this is the big health and longevity book that's 1909, written by many medical doctors. And I opened it up today, and so it's usually like something new is the first segment here, if I had to call it that, and then somewhat of stuff in the news, and then some jokes and laughing relevance, whatever kind of pops into my head at the end of the day. Really, I'm not, I don't have any fixed things sometimes. I just kind of write down a few things, maybe this day, maybe yesterday or something, and come on and speak. But I opened up this big book. I'll show it for people who may not have seen it already. It's huge. It's heavy. It's probably, 6 inches wide, but that's it. And it's old, and it's falling apart, and I'm going to try and make it a little bit more secure here. But at the end of the day, as long as I can read it and put things together, cool for me. And for you, because I want to read some of this stuff. And I had the crazy idea that wouldn't it be great, because there's a number of books that I have through, especially through Iridology, more than the nutrition school, that were all these remedies, all these old age remedies. There's many books still floating around there. And wouldn't it be so cool to bring them all together? I am sure that you would have a book for each region based on the plants and trees and how they grew. I think that would make common sense. And I think that's one of the things that we have gotten offside with, is the fact that we're looking at superfoods in South America when we have plenty of superfoods here. I'm going to say Ontario, but just this part of the latitude, I guess you could say, around the world. We have that. But one of the key areas that I always, probably the rest of my life, I'm going to be researching is water. It's something that I never wanted to go, okay, but this is the right, okay, this one, because you probably find yourself, if you've ever done this, moving around, which is the best water. And there's a few factors to look at for sure. And so the internal use of water in this book, I just wanted to read this one paragraph here. And then I'm going to tell a story that I've probably told this before, so I'll make it really short. But effects. So drinking cold water slows the pulse and makes it stronger and fuller. So this is cold water. Hot water weakens and makes it rapid. So hot water weakens it and makes it rapid. And that may be why you drink a hot toddy with alcohol, that kind of thing. Now, cold water is the best diuretic, so flushing, and whereas warm water is the best sweating agent. So that's with the alcohol, with the warm water, you drink that, and then you bundle up, and when you're just feeling something coming on, I'll call it the flu, then you just sweat it all out. So it's interesting to learn a little bit more about the cold water. Now, I heard that the cold water will increase your metabolism. So maybe there's a little bit association there. But the spring water, because I go collect spring water, it's always the same temperature, whether it's in the summer, whether it's in the winter. It's the exact same temperature. And when drinking the water, because I'll drink it even in the winter time, I'm drinking it, there is this warmth. There is this comfortable, and my hands get really, really warm. And I don't know if it's because my hands are in the water as well, but about 15 minutes in, because I won't wear gloves, it's just no fun, the cold water on my hands and just drinking it, it's just kind of like this warming effect. So there's a bit more here, but water in itself obviously sounds like it does something to the body, stimulating it, and or not. But that's just to give you a little idea, is that I heard this story once, I read a story, it was about a doctor, and he was stuck out somewhere where he had no medicine, zero medicine, but there was this digestive upset, and he didn't know what to do. So what he decided to do, and I think he was in the middle of nowhere, couldn't get anywhere, and wherever it was, he was there for a month or something. It was not just a couple of days. And all he did was give them water. And he was completely shocked that just giving them water, they got better in good time. He didn't have to give them anything. And that's where you start to question. And it's even with the cold. It's been proven with the cold that if you just let it run its course without taking anything, it finishes no different than if you were to take things. And I can tell you it's better. It's better to let the cold and all the mucus out. That's a detoxification. It's a free detox if you have a cold or flu. The better question would be, how come your system is needing to detox? Why would this cold come about? And there's a reason there. Like in my book, I talk about the key reason, but I would rather put some things around it for you. But the idea is, it's clear that the cold, the fever, symptoms as they are not the problem, they're symptoms, and that the underlying root cause is yet to be discovered uniquely for you. So whatever your unique is, and I'm sure there's going to be, staying up too late, eating too much food, drinking too much alcohol, there's going to be some of that absolute, or stress, that are just going to kind of be the theme, but the stresses are different for everybody, absolutely, and how you treat your body lifestyle-wise, periods of times, and how long, and that's different, so there's unique things there for sure. Now, one of the things is there's a few links that I have here, so we're going to go into the news. We're going to skip into the news. I'm just going to put this Falling Apart book over to the side here. So one of the things is clear, and much time has gone by, so I feel more comfortable having read more research, heard more people talk about, the lawyers, and there's all these doctors, researchers, and scientists in the courts, which, by the way, many people still don't know anything about. They're still listening to mainstream media. So as I continue to talk to or bump into neighbors and other people, I've been asking about it, and they don't know, really don't know. So this is a compassion on our side to understand is whether they're choosing not to, or they think that that's really the best source, the only source, the trusted source, for whatever reasons, we don't know. There's a lot on our side we wouldn't know until we had a deeper conversation with people. So here's the one thing with the PCR test, and in my earlier research and even through today, and what they're using in the court cases, is the PCR test is not for infectious diseases. End of story. Anybody can research that and find out, Cheryl Millett. But it does seem, good people, they are erasing or making it very difficult to get information that speaks against this current narrative of wanting to lock down, wanting to do more testing even though it's not the right test, and more fear, more lockdown, all of that. So very strange. And people, one person, but we couldn't hear, there's trees going on, had said to me, Cheryl, do you think they didn't do enough, or do you think they've done too much? Where are you on? And I'm going to send her an email. Hopefully we'll go for a walk in when the neighborhood is quieter. So that's number one. We have to, I guess, at some point do enough research on some of these pieces so that we're well educated ourselves. You know, we have that information. What else was, I did read a little clip here. I was on City News about the protest that I went to, and it's not that favorable. You know, it's just like, what did they do? Two protests take over downtown. Well, we didn't take over all of downtown. And it's, you know, hundreds of protesters gathered downtown, thousands of protesters, but still hundreds, multiple hundreds, calling for an end to the COVID-19 lockdown measures. But, you know, they go into this thing, the group of anti-maskers, and I just detest the labeling, you know, that they get people using, because it's more the others who are doing exactly what the government's telling, and they're like feeding them information. Oh, you're that anti-masker, and I just go, no, no such thing. Don't believe in labels. You know, carrying signs and shouting slogans against the Trudeau government and lockdown protocols, and they caused traffic slowdowns. But at the end of the day, it was all planned, and there was lots of police officers. And in fact, right at the back, strangely enough, they had, I think, 8 of the big horses that were following up the rear of probably a mile-long march. And so they talk about that, but they talk about fully blocking portions of a number of major arteries in and out of the downtown core. Well, that's what you do when you do a march. And it said the demonstration was held by a group known as The Line, who who are civil liberties movement, and they call themselves freedom fighters and defending for constitutional rights. And they didn't go into much more than that. They asked their followers to draw resistance logos on their vehicles and join the motorcade in the streets as a sign of unity and resistance against the new normal and the lockdown. Yes. And then the second protest at Nathan Phillips Square, so they go into that, something about SARS, which I wasn't familiar with, but there was a small protest going around. They look like they were Antifa, to do with Black Lives Matter. That's it. No one say Antifa. Anyway, it was just interesting to go on the City News, which I don't even know, I could probably say never, and just to see what else is popping up. And it's not necessarily things you want to get your eyes on, because it continues to come out that the Catholic Church has been not so nice. Is probably the best way. But I don't know if I'll even post that on there. But there was a couple of other things I wanted to speak to. Let me just see if I can find them. Yeah. No, where are they? Here they are. Ottawa businesses demand. Yeah. So this was one thing, and this was on actually a call. So the small businesses, whether you have learned this or not, are starting to protest. Especially, this was Ottawa businesses demand data from province to justify closures. Right off the get-go, without even understanding that there's these court cases going on, or the COVID testing is not on the up and up, or not what it needs to be. They need to get a better test. End of story. They're doing this. You know, they are stepping up and asking them, you know, what's going on, what's the deal. So I'm going to post that down below. So the questioning, very good, group on their own. And from somebody who was on the call, they actually contacted somebody there and explained to them, educated them, and tried to get them to understand and do some research on their own. Here's another one. Even CDC now admits no gold standard of COVID-19 virus isolate. So it was a very lengthy, October the 11th, Principia Scientific International. And at the end of the day, if you are actually, and there's some links here too, which is great, if you are actually watching the CDC's website or the WHO, and there's lots of information there, you will actually see sometimes just how crazy it is. They change their story, and it's not on mainstream media. Like, who? No, you only need to be a meter apart, or no, we don't believe in masks. Masks don't work. And so it's kind of strange. So this was another article. 30,000 health experts signed declaration against COVID-19 lockdowns. So this was just probably the starting of more and more information. These are from Harvard and Oxford, and then it goes down, and Stanford. They have some support and some criticism over what's going on. This is through Canada. So there's many things going on, and many probably news, alternative news, whatever we want to call it, that are reporting on it. They absolutely have. Oh, so this was interesting. The Federalist, and they say, and I read this one, but this was last week I read it. I'll just read the title and then I'll put the link up. CDC study finds overwhelming majority of people getting coronaviruses wore masks. So that was October 12th. And it was just great that they're actually collecting the information, because otherwise, how would we know? How would we know? So there's all these recommendations, all these kind of shutting down, and religious gatherings and all of this, but yet they're keeping from what I can understand and hear, the gambling joints open, or I don't know, there was a couple of other places too as well that they were keeping open, and fair enough, fair enough. Funerals also are getting the rough end of the stick for it's not a good reason. But I'm going to post the Crimes Against Humanity. That's the one lawyer that's kind of out of California, and Germany as well. So he speaks fluent German, and I guess he has an office and works out of both countries, speaks English extremely well, and he knows enough what's going on. So I thought that was good as well. Just a little bit of facts here and there. I think that doesn't hurt, but go and read a little bit. For me, I can't read everything, but I thank everybody for actually sending me all the links, and eventually I'll get through the year. Probably won't get through all of them, because I'm just in the middle of doing all the filming and recording to wrap up the courses for online, which starts early November with iAwesome. So I have to get that done. But I think the key thing is we're supporting each other, and we understand that there is a march that goes on, and more people can support, but not everybody's near. So it's really cool to see just how many people were appreciative of the recording of the march, just kind of being a part of it in wherever they are, whatever distance they are, or because they couldn't get down for whatever reason. So that was a lot of fun. There were tons of people filming. I don't know if they were actually doing it live or they were just taking some pictures. I don't know that, but it was really cool. Really cool. So if I get to go down this weekend, I'll go down. What my main thing for this weekend is I joined up is TDSB is giving a parent, there's some panels Saturday, Sunday, and they have different talks on sex education, talk on mental health, talk on resources for children. So I thought I'd dive into that this weekend, see what they're saying, see what they're sharing, see how they're sharing it. But I do have a bit of really good news before I go into some laughs, and that is, while I was traveling around, primarily Sunday, I had my favorite station on, 96.3 classical, a new classical FM, and I didn't notice any talk about the COVID, even just because you can talk about the songs coming up, but then they were putting in some of their own personal commentary about what's going on, and even saying it to people who were calling in and doing recommendations. And I remember one time there was a lady going out, and they spoke, oh, be careful. It was a kind of, this kind of fearful, but I could tell she just going, I'll be all right. But they didn't get into it, obviously. You only have so much time on the radio. But I noticed that my email to 96.3 may have been very instrumental of them not promoting, not speaking about this event in a fear, scary kind of way. And that's awesome. So you ever have any opportunity, I just love speaking to mental health. Mental health is for everyone, and people who are very fearful, very anxious at this time, very much so. And for me, who just wants to curse the radio when I hear that stuff, that it's good. So feel free to, because of mental health, can we talk less like that, or do we have to talk like that? Can we just bring in the usual need to listen to, be it anything, radio, weather, or even these TDSBs? I do some emails back to them and say the same thing. Because of mental health, can we just, the whole second wave thing, which, how do you know it's going to happen? It's ridiculous. They don't. So they could leave it off. It's going to come somewhere, whether it's Rob Ford or somewhere. It's going to come somewhere. It doesn't need to come everywhere. That's my point. Anyway, I'm going to read some jokes here. We'll go on. Don't know if there's any comments, any shares. Was there anybody else at the wonderful march? You're going to go. It's every Saturday at noon. So just so that you know, I know at first I was going, well, where are they? They were at the Queen's Park initially, and then it was Dundas Square, and then I wasn't sure if it was 10, it's 11, noon. And then I got connected to a few groups that easily would share it. And so noon, Dundas Square, that's where they have the presenters, and then following the presenters, which they keep it really condensed, very short, right on point, what's new, and then they do the march. And it seems like they changed it up because they just didn't want to go past CBC and that again, so they changed it up and go north, which was good. So there you go. Everybody's welcome to go to the march. Everybody's welcome. Some people have asked me, one person asked me, is anybody wearing masks? And anybody that was in the march, no. There was a group there, it's Hugs Over Masks. So I guess that's a fun way, being very creative, very fun way to speak to it. So that's good. All good. So here's the jokes. And then I'll post them up as well. They just found the gene for shyness. They would have found it earlier, but it was hiding behind a couple other genes. Actually, I like talking about genes. If anybody's really interested about the Genome Project or genes, or they're going to find a cure for this, a cure for that, just go study the Genome Project. I wrote it all a piece in my book because really people should know, because many people are relying on this science called genomes and genes to eradicate so many things. And personally, everything I've heard and listening to various people, I think the one guy said, geneticist said, do you think I'd still be bald? It's probably one of the first things they want to find, be it simple, but no. So lots of work to be there, and that's why epigenetics comes. If you don't know what epigenetics is, it's think of your genes, but there's a light switch on and off, and when it's on, it seems like it's doing this, and when it's off, it's not doing that. That's probably the simplest way. And how they turn on and off might be to lifestyle, and so makes sense, right? Makes sense. You probably inherited things, but also due to your own lifestyle, you have things coming about. All right, here's the next one. What's the difference between a guitar and a fish? You can tune a guitar, but you can't tune a fish. And that one's been used for a while, the tune a fish one. But I like this one. Which one should I do first? Okay, there, I picked up 4. One's for my uncle. What's the worst thing about ancient orators? What's the worst thing about ancient orators? No, speakers. They tend to Babylon. They tend to Babylon. They tend to Babylon. in Babylon. Now, having listened to my uncle, who's a biblical archaeologist, enough about things, more familiar about things, so I thought that was cute. So that's for my uncle. The other one here is for us people who are into science, is what's the right thing to do when a chemist dies? What's the right thing to do when a chemist dies? Bury him. Bury him. So it's on the elemental chart. Elemental table is one of the things. Barium is one of the elements. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I like to stick to the 30 minutes. If you have any comments, any particular links, anything, post them. I'll post my links later today as well so that you can have them and read them. But again, if you want to be on, there's a Glorious and Free Facebook group. I'll post the link below. But there's a particular email that you have to get in order to have the various links. So every week, various topics, talking about homeschooling tonight, something else tomorrow, and I just got the one email. It's daily email, so you just keep in the loop. Plus you get emails to look at this, look at that, some stories, some good stories, and then you have access to come on the calls or don't, but you're going to keep informed. And if you want to be connected with that, then what I would need is your email address, and I just, private message me that, and just say Henry, and I'll know what you mean. Henry, Sylvan Henry out of Ottawa, who is, and these other groups have come together, and he's just one of many, but he's really getting connected around the world as some of the others, and then they're connecting each other. So it's a great way to keep on top of things should anything not be communicated because of all the censoring they're doing in the social media these days, which I think started October 1st. They put some new laws or something in, or some new rules or whatever they want to, right? Because they can. So there you go. So I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is getting more comfortable with being exempt from a mask. I went into Nature's Emporium yesterday with my cousin, and I was surprised there wasn't more people, not the workers, but more people that were there that weren't wearing a mask. But I think I might have saw somebody at a distance. But really, at Nature's Emporium, everybody was wearing their masks, except for me. And my cousin was wearing her mask. Couldn't convince her otherwise. But anyway, there you go. So you get confident. Be able to share and speak about it, and go into a store and say I'm exempt. People are saying more and more right now, well, no, you can't do that, Cheryl, anymore. You can't do it. They don't allow it anymore. This is, they went to the lockdown, and then they kind of opened up, and then they've kind of backtracked, and they're making it stricter. No, you can still be exempt from not wearing your mask. You absolutely can. I've had no issues. Now maybe people looked at me, I just pretend I see right through them and don't engage in them at all. So there you go. Anyway, but yeah, confidence. Just go and say, I'm exempt. That's what, if somebody were to ask me, they didn't ask me at all in Nature's Aquarium. Not one person said anything. And yeah, so you might not even get anybody to say it, but that just, whew, I'm not saying you're going to feel great because you're doing it. I'm just going to say it's the thing to do. It's the thing to do. Grow confident. And so sometimes people feel that they're going to get judged by others. Yeah, it could, but at the end of the day, it's a very good confidence booster for a good reason. We don't want everybody to see everybody wearing a mask. Psychologically, that will mean, this is the best thing to do. This is the only thing to do. And that's the key reason I did not wear my mask initially, was I didn't have any fear for all that I knew and was feeling. So I didn't. And I just didn't want, when the lockdown came down, I just didn't want everybody to see everybody in a mask. I did it more for mental health. And I kept my walk club going for mental health too, even though there was one person, 2, 3, 4 people. And gradually got bigger to 6 and 8, and now it's 16, 18 people every Sunday. Even during the second lockdown, there is 16, 18. It has not and I told them I wouldn't be not doing it. So it seems like there's a lot more comfortable people this time around, which is great. While the traffic tells you there's a lot more comfortable people, there's actually traffic again, and a lot more people still out and about. But anyway, nothing to worry about. Take care of yourself. I think that's the most important message I can give you. The sleep, hydration, vitamin D. If you need any advice on supplements, just the simple ones, the most important ones, and the quality of those ones, and how you can get them without taking supplements, or at least, kind of combine the two naturally, and then getting them also with some additional supplements would be good. Maybe sometime this week or next week I'll talk a little bit more. Maybe it's a refresher, maybe some additional things, but just talk about how you can keep up. Otherwise, we just really have to focus on not being as vulnerable, and I think that's extremely important. It's the vulnerable is there, and we really can't pack it up for the rest of the world and be on lockdown and have all these, the economy do what it does for that reason. I mean, that's the craziest thing. Really, at the end of the day, there shouldn't be all these vulnerable people. There should not be this number of them. That tells me that the pharmaceuticals, drugs don't work, and all the not-for-profits don't have a leg to stand on for assisting the good people with all the various key diseases. That's what it tells me. The charts in the future tell me that too, but just right now, with all the dollars they get, it just seems like there's some corporate gotta feed the medicine deal going on here, and that's where we, the people, have to stand up. We have to stand up, say, no, I don't want any meds. No, I don't. I want to get off the meds. But sometimes certain things happen, and when certain things happen, you go, yeah, I should be on the meds. But no, you're not med deficient. You are not. When you've had a heart attack, you're not med deficient. But there are things you can do, and you need to pay attention to. Absolutely. And trust me, there are plenty of things, not a whole lot of things to do, but things that probably most people aren't aware of and are just happy to do the quick, convenient thing. But there's side effects with all of that, and that is not getting to the root cause. Simple. Anyway, I'm going to see you again sometime soon, live at 5. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to wish you a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are, and see you again soon. Bye for now.